I got good news for you, and I got good news for everybody. I've had a lot of complaints, but I've kicked Robin Williams' ghost out of my house.
It's not that I didn't enjoy him. It was just too much, too
It was
often,
too. It was
every
too
time.
much. It was every episode, and I sat Robin down and I said, "Robin, you have to leave. You know,
I,
of all ghosts to have in your house, you probably want Robin Williams, but it's just I sat him down. I go, man, that movie came out like 40 years ago. Give it up. You know."
I'm glad I wasn't the one to have to say it. I'm glad some viewers spoke up.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe Robin will find another open window and he'll climb back into this house. I hope not, because he's kind of a pain in the ass. But that's how it goes sometime. Welcome everybody back to episode 5 of Taking All Bets. It's been pretty quick. It's kind of flown by a little bit, like 5 episodes already. You
When
know?
I when I saw that we were already in our fifth, I was very surprised. Actually, it does not feel like we've done 5 episodes.
No, it feels like we had the idea 2 months ago,
Yeah,
and then
about
things
that.
just happened, and then before you know it, we're here. If you
It's been
haven't
a very
already, hit like, hit subscribe, rate the show wherever you're watching it. That way, more people can find it. Go to our link tree. That way, you can find all of our social medias and whatnot. Um, that way, you can stay connected with the show and know when new episodes are coming out.
I gotta say too, this has been a very enjoyable experience so far.
It has been. It's fun.
It's
Like,
exactly.
it's not a lot of work. Like it's no work. It's just getting on and talking about sports, which is what we would have done
It's
anyways.
nothing better than that. There's nothing better than a sports discussion.
Yeah, exactly. So let's get into sports. I gotta give a huge shout out to. Well, actually, I'll leave that for next. Um, so I'm wearing the red. I'm wearing the Tiger colors. I got the Tiger hat on. I'm going with the trend. I stand beside Tiger. A lot of players on Sunday, I believe it was, of the last tournament, they all wore red. Of course, Tiger had the bad accident. I think it was
Yeah,
last
that was
Thursday.
awesome to see all of them out there on the course with the red.
Yeah, and he was really
Appreciative of that.
he was appreciative of it, and so that was good to see. More developments are coming out of that story when it comes to Tiger. Um, the sheriff's department of, I guess, LA County has gotten a search warrant for the black box to his vehicle that he rolled. Um, Basically, a box that keeps all the data, like the computer stores data of how fast the car was going, um, what direction, all these sort of things that you can see in the car, and it just keeps oil pressure, shit like that. Um, They're not sure if either the sheriff department. Now, this is pretty standard procedure, I guess, in single vehicle accidents. They're not sure if the sheriff went to the judge and wanted this, or the judge looked at the evidence and then just gave them the warrant without them asking for it. Um, but there were a few things, like there was no skid marks on the roads, so no signs that he tried to break. They do say, however, that road is pretty bad because I guess you come down a hill and then there's a sharp turn. So there's a lot of accidents that happen there. But they don't believe he had anything in his system at the time of the crash, which is nice. Tiger's had his problems with that. I know you didn't watch the Tiger documentary.
Not yet, at least.
There is a part in it. It's another one of my favorite parts is he fell asleep. It was when he got his DUI a couple years ago, 2017, maybe he got it. He'd fallen asleep on the side of the road in his car. The police pulled up and they go, "Where are you heading, bud?" And he was like, "I'm going to Orange County." And they're like, "Well, you're in Jupiter, Florida. You're pretty far away from Orange County." And it was like middle of the night. And they go, "You have anything to drink?" And he goes, "No." And they're like, "Medication?" He's like, "Actually, yeah." So they get out and they're like, I want you to close your eyes and I want you to say the alphabet. Don't sing it. Don't be like A, B, C, D. Like just say the letters. He goes, "Do you understand?" Tiger goes, "Mm-hmm." He goes, "Okay. What were the instructions I just gave you?" He goes, "Don't sing the national anthem backwards." And the guy's like, not even close. He got hauled away to jail that night. But there was another. Did I tell you about when the the media found out about his they found out about his mistress and then paparazzi went to her house? Did I tell you about that?
No, I don't think you did.
The funniest part, my favorite part in the whole series is this guy. He's standing outside her house and he's like she comes walking, he's like, "Damn, that's why Tiger wants to leave the wife." And she's like head down, like, and people are like, "Who the fuck is this guy?" He's like, "Y'all should get yourself tested. A lot of women go through him." I was like, this guy, I love this guy just heckling from the bleachers.
I really gotta watch that documentary.
You do. It's pretty good. Um, yeah, so hopefully, they don't find, because they're thinking it's reckless driving, um, that he was doing, and that's why it caused the accidents. But
I think we touched on this last week too. It seems like throughout his career, a lot of his issues have come behind the wheel.
yeah, he should probably
Like,
get a driver, eh?
yeah, like for
Like he has
someone
enough
who's
money.
made, yeah, for someone who's made as much money, you might want to consider that. But
Yeah, just
anyways,
hire a $20 an hour driver, just
yeah,
drive your Bentley around for you.
I'll do it.
So, um, speaking of cars and cars that go fast, I got to give a huge shout out to Denny Hamlin, who is the number 11 car in the Cup Series NASCAR. I think they've raced 3 races, and if you don't know, each race they do 3 stages. It never used to be like that, so they do one stage and then second stage and a third. It's basically like for competitive balance, so that if a car gets 10 seconds ahead of the rest of the pack, whatever, 55 laps into the race, it's not just a boring race for the rest of the time. They all get to catch up at some point. So they've done 3 races. They've had 9 stages. Denny Hamlin has been in the top 3, and I believe 7 of those stages.
That's
So
pretty incredible, actually.
he's running away with the standings. Denny Hamlin, I'm going to ask you a question. Denny Hamlin races for a team called Joe Gibbs Racing. Does
Joe
the
Gibbs
name
race.
Joe Gibbs mean anything to you?
Not that I can think of off the bat.
Joe Gibbs is a Hall of Fame Washington Redskins head coach. And
Really?
years ago he just bought a team. He was like, I like racing.
I didn't
And
even
he
know that.
bought it. He started his own team, got a driver, they started winning. Yeah, he coached the uh Redskins from I think like 1981 maybe to 93, and then again in the late 90s, and then 10 years later in 2007. He coached Sean Taylor. Like he was part of
That era of
that era of the
Washington football.
Redskins.
Wow.
Exactly.
That's kind of neat. I did not know that.
Yeah. So it is funny, like, because now you're almost like, well, are you a football guy or are you a racing guy? Because you've actually been way more successful at racing, but everyone knows you
Can,
from
can put him in
football.
that dual sport conversation.
Dude, that guy could run for president. He would win the South. He's got the NFL and
It,
NASCAR.
oh yeah. It won't
All
even be
those guys are
close.
voting for him.
Yeah, it won't even be close.
Yeah. I heard these great stories about. There's this show that Kevin James, the comedian, has on Netflix now. I
Yep.
think it's called The Crew, and it's based off of NASCAR, like a pit crew. And he said in the show that you don't cheat, you innovate, and that is so true in NASCAR. Like it's crazy. Um, I was reading this thing where, so Daryl Waltrip is a very famous race car driver. But his brother Michael Waltrip started his own team, I don't know, 10 years ago or something. And well, he started it like 15 years ago, but it's no longer a team anymore. Anyways, they got caught putting rocket fuel in the fuel lines of the car. So so the whole race, it was picking up like this coating of rocket fuel, and the car was just flying down the track, like gone. There's so many of these stories that's like incredible of just like how they cheat in the game. Like this one guy, he built a car that was way too light. Like it has to be like 3,400 pounds. The car has to be,
Yep.
and he built it way too light. So what he would do is he would cut a hole in the frame of the car, and he would put like fucking like basically BBs like down into the frame of the car to weigh it down. And so he would like go for inspection, the car would pass. Like they're like, oh, it's the right weight. And then during the race, they would just like open up a little door, like hit a switch and the door would open up, and just all these BBs would just fly back onto the track. But they're like, and then they would just like roll down in the infield. So like the next day when they go to clean shit up, they're like, where the fuck are all these things coming from? Who's
That couldn't have lasted long.
It lasted so long. It's crazy because they were so smart about it because they knew they were cheating. They just didn't know how they were cheating. So they would hoist the car up and they would spend hours underneath the car trying to find where they put this fucking door in. But they were so smart. They put the door exactly where the hoist goes on the frame. So when they lift the car up, it would be behind the hoist, like where it meets the frame,
That
and they
is
would never
smart.
find it.
Wow.
Anyways, so yeah, big shout out to Denny Hamlin. Big shout out to Joe Gibbs. Joe Gibbs is a legend. Just I wanted to share a couple of those cheating stories because they're hilarious.
That was
You
funny.
have to go look at them up. Yeah. So Joe Gibbs, Hall of Fame football coach. There's another Hall of Famer that just changed teams in the NFL. JJ Watt. JJ Watt's free agency is over. How do you feel about it, Kurt?
You know what? I like the destination. I think that division was already going to be a fun one to watch. This just makes it way more entertaining. Just look at the teams in that division. So you've got Arizona now. You already had Kyler, DeAndre, Chandler Jones, now JJ Watt. That front seven's going to be good. They're going to get pressure on other QBs. The Rams just traded for Stafford. Arguably, you could probably make a case the best defense in the NFL. Definitely the best in that division. Seattle, this is where it gets interesting. So a lot of people would have had them past few years. They were the favorite. I'm not so sure
Mm-hmm.
anymore. Russ, all these rumors that he wants out, probably the worst offensive line in football. We can agree on that.
Well,
And
Chad Wheeler, he's no longer part of the team. He was a huge part of that offensive line. Fuck you, Chad Wheeler.
anyways, Seattle defense, not very good.
No.
And you gotta think too, if the 49ers get healthy, they're in that mix too. That's either way, like 1 through 4, that take your pick. It's gonna be a fun division to watch.
Do you think it's a foregone conclusion that that Russ is gone?
I don't think it's a conclusion just because it's hard to part ways with a caliber player like that, of his caliber,
Mhm.
I guess I meant to say.
Yeah.
But as soon as if as soon as he says he wants out, that's different than they're taking offers, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't have the pressure of you need to move this guy. But if we hear next week Russ won't report to camp unless trade occurs, then you got a different story.
I remember when the Seahawks went to the Super Bowl against the Patriots, and the biggest question mark about the team was Russell Wilson, basically. Like they were not like they were like he's a good quarterback, but they were like he's not great. Now, just a few years later, I mean 5, 6 years later, he's incredible. Like
He's probably a top 3 QB right now. Yeah, maybe
I
2.
I
Like
think you can learn a lot from a quarterback just by looking at the way he throws the ball. And there is nobody maybe more technically sound in the way they throw than Russell Wilson. Like Drew Brees was kind of like that. Like I compare him a lot to Drew Brees, and even Russ will scramble more.
I think that's the stature thing too, right? They
Yeah,
drew comparisons immediately because Russ, I guess, when it comes to QBs, is undersized and he's forced to, I guess, adjust with that. He does that with his legs. Drew Brees wasn't really, he didn't really do it with his legs because
no.
he was just really accurate.
Hmm.
But once his arm fell off, he wasn't the same. And I think that's probably
No.
part of the reason they never were able to get back to the Super Bowl. But Russ doesn't have
Hmm.
that issue because, first of all, his arm is great still.
Yeah.
And he does it with his legs as well, right? I mean, he has no choice with that offensive line.
And he's a very smart guy. Like I think he went to like an Ivy League school.
Yeah, he's a
He's
very intelligent player.
yeah, very intelligent. He knows how to read defenses. Um, yeah, so I'm excited for JJ Watt to go to a different team. I mean, I felt like a long time that Houston had wasted his talents. For the first half of his career, they didn't really have a good quarterback. I mean, they had some okay ones, but they were here and there and nothing really sustainable. Just like he won all those defensive player of the year awards like on not great teams. Um and then they got Deshaun Watson, but then they traded DeAndre Hopkins. So he reunites with DeAndre Hopkins, and yeah, I'm really excited to see what he can do. I wonder if on a good team he'll get more attention for. I mean, JJ Watt's always going to get attention, but I wonder if he gets more attention now because he's on uh what should be a playoff team.
Yeah, like he's not the same defensive player of the year, JJ Watt, but he's still incredibly productive. So
Yeah,
either way, that the Cardinals will definitely be able to get pressure on the other QBs in that division. And I think they're gonna be right at the top all year long.
I think so too. I am. So it's a 2-year deal, $31 million, 23 of it guaranteed. So not a huge commitment by the Cardinals, but I mean
Pretty
he is injury
reasonable.
prone. He's injury
Yeah.
prone. If he wasn't, I'm sure it'd probably be a longer.
It's kind of a low risk, high reward, I'd say.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
But
I
like you
agree.
said, there is injury history there. But either way, not an incredibly lucrative deal.
No. Um, so in the NHL, there was a big name player who's played on a team for a long time. He recently changed teams. Zdeno Chara. Was it the first time that he's gone back to Boston this past
Yeah,
week?
yeah. This was the first game the Capitals were in Boston this year.
So you watched the Caps. What are you thinking of Big Z? You like him?
Yeah, you know what? I He was playing the first few, I guess, few weeks of the year. He was playing a lot, and he still is. But if you looking watching him play, if you utilize him in the right way, I'm talking defensive faceoffs, like if starting the defensive end, the penalty kill, and you're not asking him to move the puck and create the like start the play, he's still incredibly productive. He can block as many shots as anyone. He's very physical. This is the guy that I can't wait till we get to the playoffs because I think it's going to be a huge addition. And he's turned Nick Jensen, who I was not a fan of
I
last year.
remember you saying
I
you
had some
hated him.
high criticism for him. Jensen is looking great. It looks like a different player, and that pairing has become really good for us. And it's just taking that penalty kill ice time away from other key guys that we're going to need down the stretch. Brendan Dillon, Dmitry Orlov, John
Mm,
Carlson. Although Carlson still plays a ton, but it's really important, and it just helps us even out that ice time a little bit and keep guys fresh. As an older team, I think that's gonna be really beneficial when the games get a lot of more physical. That game was actually, speaking of that, that game was really physical. One of the best games I've
yeah.
watched all year, I think.
Yeah, so I agree with you definitely on Chara being a effective defensive player. Um, yeah, I mean, like, how do you feel about your team? How do you feel about the Caps overall in the division they're in? Like, what do you think their playoff chances are? Obviously, they're leading the division right now.
I mean, I would have said if you would have asked me this 2 weeks ago, I would have been very hesitant to say what I'm about to say. But so they just beat Boston. I mean, honestly, I think the shootout just ruined a fantastic game. We won in the shootout, yeah, but I wish that game would have ended differently.
Hmm.
Um, I think the Capitals are going to be in the mix with anyone. This is a big physical team. They've been there before. They know how to do it. They know how to win now. You look up and down that lineup, tons of talent still, right?
Hmm.
Um, Goaltending, this is the only thing I'll say where I have some questions, but both there's two young guys competing for that job. Vitek Vanacek is probably going to be in the conversation for rookie of the year. Guy's been awesome this year. And now you get Samsonov back. You have the luxury of giving him some time to ease in. I think you have two solid young goalies. You can go with whoever's hot, right? Ride the hot hand. We saw how that's worked out in the past. I mean, look, when Pittsburgh won their two cups, they had two goalies, right? We've seen a lot of teams. Oh, St. Louis, there's another one. They had Bennington came up the halfway point, right?
Hmm.
Won them the cup. No, there's no need now. I think I said this before. I'm at the point where you don't need to pay your starting goalie huge bucks. You
I
can win.
agree.
You can win. You can get production from that position in other ways, unless you have maybe, let's say, Hellebuck, Vasilevsky, Rask, and a few others.
Hmm.
You can do it in other ways. You can find
Hmm.
production from that spot. But going back to the what you want my analysis on it, I think this is probably the toughest division in hockey, and they look like possibly the best team in that division. That game last night, them in Boston was really close, though. I think when it comes down to it, they're probably the two best teams in that division.
Yeah. Um, you know, Ovechkin, I mean, I don't know, like the boss should seem to be getting in his head. Who is it that he speared? Frederick?
Travis Frederick, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of that guy, but if
No.
okay, going back to what you like the Ovechkin thing though, yeah, they might have been getting in his head. The guy led the game in hits and had 16 shot attempts. He was all over the place. He played
Hmm.
great. He would think he was the first star of the game, and he had no points.
Does
The thing
he
about
only
Ovechkin,
have does he only have 6 goals still?
seven goals, and he's like point per game. He's got like 11 assists though. But that's the thing is, I think he's learned too. The goals will come, but he can be productive in so many other ways. And he opens up ice. Like right now, a lot of teams are playing, they're turning our power play almost into a 4-on-3. You just take away
Yeah.
one guy, sit him on Ovechkin, that's fine. You still have Backstrom, Oshie, Vrana, or Kuznetsov, and Carlson on the other side. Like that's what he's making these little things. That's the selfless play, right? You're turning a 4-on-3, opens up more ice, and other guys are producing. And at the end of the day, I think for his legacy sake, yeah, we all want to see him score, and I think he will continue to score. But
Hmm.
he can also do it. He's still of huge physical presence. Like I said, he led that game in hits, and that was a playoff type game, and that's what you're going to see from him, I think, all year.
Yeah, and I've said I mean, I know I've said to you before that, I agree with the way that teams are trying to play Washington's power play now is yeah, just turn it into a 4-on-3. I mean, I don't know if your chances go up or go down, but at least you know who's not going to beat you.
Well, you can.
And I,
We were the fourth or fifth ranked power play right now, and we were operating
mm,
at over 30%. So you can tell me if it works or doesn't work, right? In my opinion,
yeah,
it doesn't make a difference. You're picking your poison. You can take away that, but then you have four other highly skilled guys who are probably going to produce still. So
yeah, um, yeah, I agree. I mean, you do like pick your poison, I guess, but I mean, I think at some point, you do have to take away their best option, and that is
yeah.
Alex Ovechkin.
Well, it's like when you're watching a football game, right? You force a team to beat you with the pass, or you force them to run the ball. I get it. Like,
Hmm.
yeah, we're gonna force you to beat us with John Carlson from the point or TJ
Hmm.
Oshie in the slot, right? Like I get it. I'm just saying I don't think they're worried about that. Like I
Yeah.
think they're like that's fine. We will do that then.
Um, I want to take this chance to pump the tires of my favorite team and shit all over my least favorite team. I mean, the Toronto Maple Leafs, they go into Edmonton, they shut out uh, Connor McDavid 3 games in a row. Gotta love it. They're playing great defensively. They're still scoring goals. They have a third line now that's just buzzing all over the ice. And last year when Tampa Bay they got their third line, they really changed the team. When they got Barclay Goudreau and they got Blake Coleman, it really just changed the whole dynamic of the team. I think that the third line of Engvall, Mikheyev, and Hyman will do that. And then you're going to have Simmons coming back, making your second line better. Um, but I will talk about now that, I pumped my tires a little bit on the Maple Leafs. I'm going to talk about two dumpster fires that are going on in the NHL, and I am going to love every minute of it. The Montreal Canadiens are in crisis mode. They are level 5. They don't know what to do. They're freaking out, and I love it.
I find this so funny because we heard so much from those fans 2 weeks ago, or maybe 2.5 now, through 3 weeks ago, but
Yeah.
they were so obnoxious, I guess you could say. They were so excited that they had a lead in the division by 1 point for a game or two. And it's like, relax, you're 15 games in, there's a lot of hockey. You play each other 10 times in a year, like just wait. And look what happened.
Yeah, the Montreal Canadiens are, how do you say, garbage. That's how you say that. They fired, I don't know how you say his name, Stefan Wait, whatever, goalie coach. Um, this is, if I have never seen a GM try to save his job more than Mark Bergevin. Like, Mark Bergevin should be fired,
I think
honestly.
I think he's next though. But okay, I'm gonna start by saying this. They kind of were ahead of schedule last year, and that forced him, I think, to make those signings like the Toffoli and the Anderson, who they've actually been like their two best forwards, you probably could
Mm-hmm.
say. But look at the eight, look at those a lot. They still have a lot of good young players, but this was a team that probably didn't have any business doing what they did last year. They
No,
were 24th in the league. They didn't have any business making the playoffs.
no.
I get it, the format, they had to make it equal because of the COVID situation, not a full season completed. Yeah, they had a chance. And then Bryce stood on his head and they beat Pittsburgh. Okay, but they weren't a playoff team.
No,
Like
they
they
weren't.
didn't deserve, they wouldn't have made the playoffs in a normal year. So now then you get to the offseason, the expectations went up. I think this team, I can't say this because I actually picked them to do really well this year. And I think I
Right.
fell victim to that is I was looking at what they did too much last year, forgetting that 75% of that year they weren't a good hockey team.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought maybe these additions would put them a little higher than I guess I thought they would play. They're better than they're playing a little over their heads, you could say.
See, and I saw somebody who was saying that it shouldn't be Mark Bergevin's fault because he spent $105 million or something in the off season. No, that's exactly why it should be your fault. Like, you spent $105 million on who? Who'd you spend it on?
I think it was
Josh Anderson, Tyler Toffoli, they're good players. You re-signed Jeff Petrie, but like,
honestly, I don't know if you can say that though, because their four best, most important players are the guys he signed. It's the other moves and the contracts he's dished out and the players that are there. Now you're going to be stuck with this. Look at Price's stats this year. Look at his age. That I don't even know if he'll finish his career in Montreal now. Like it's really
I don't think so.
looking. I'm starting to get worried about that.
Give me
That's
a
the 10 over
percentage
ten
you
million
think.
dollars.
Give me a percentage you think he finishes in Montreal.
Trying to think how much is left. How much is left on that deal? 5 years.
5 or 6 years, yeah.
So, wow,
I think
that's
he. I think.
steep.
I think after this year, he'll be five.
5 years and what's he's like? He'll be like 32, 33, right?
33, I think.
$10 million. But then I'm just like, if he continues to play like that, how do you move that? Like,
Yeah, it's a hard contract to move.
okay, I'll go 30%.
I'll go 25. Like, I
Okay,
think
we're same.
we're in the same ballpark.
Yeah, we're in the same ballpark.
Um, Yeah, and like firing the goalie coach. By the way, the goalie coach was fired in the second period of the game of like whatever whoever they were playing. The second period, they were like, "You're fired." And then
How do you come up with that? Di-
Mark Bergevin, what an idiot! He comes out after and he was like, I just thought it was the right time to make the move. I
You
go,
you
what
just
at
watched the
12:45 of the second period? You thought
he just
we need a
watched the
new
one
goalie coach?
he just watched a goal go and he goes, "That's it. That's the one. We can't
Like
have that. That's the
it's
coach."
it's so crazy. Like it's not it's not the goalie coach. I mean, he coached like he was the coach for Price when he was the best goalie there for about 2 years. Like
Yeah.
by far the best goalie. When he won the Hart, he was the coach for him. He coached um I think he coached the Blackhawks when they won two of their cups. He was the goalie coach. Like it's not the coach. It's Mark Bergevin being scared that he's getting fired.
And I think he's probably closing on his last straw as well. If
Yeah. I mean if
yeah,
honestly, dude,
if they don't go ahead.
okay. If they I'll say this, hot take. If they don't make the playoffs this year, he's fired.
I was gonna go in a similar direction. I said if maybe I think they will make the playoffs, but definitely if they didn't. But I think if I guess it depends who the matchup is. Like if they draw Winnipeg and Winnipeg's pretty good, then maybe he wouldn't get fired because of that. But if they draw someone like possibly like an Edmonton, it all depends on where they finish, right?
I think
And
they're
they lose,
probably
or they get swept. If they get swept too, then you got to have some real conversations about what direction you're going.
I think they'll draw right now. I think they're in fourth or so. Um, so that means that if the playoffs started today, they would get Toronto. I mean, Toronto's going to smash them in 4 games. I don't even think it'll be
I
close. They're going
I
to
don't
run
know
them
if it
out of
would
the
be. I don't
barn.
know if it'd be actually. Yeah, the way they're playing right now, I might go for. I still think they're better than this, but I just don't think they're as good as we saw. I would
Hmm.
pick Toronto to win that series, but I think you have to get Carey Price playing good hockey because if he is, they you can beat anyone really because he's just that good when he's playing up to his form. But if he's playing like this, you're just an incredibly mediocre team.
Yeah, he is playing pretty bad. Um, I think he's got a below a 900 save percentage. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's whatever. I mean, I did think that they would do better. I thought that they would finish second, quite honestly. I thought they had enough depth to do it, but it's just the star power they're missing.
Yeah,
Um,
I think I had them first and or second. I had them in Toronto close. Now I do like obviously
no.
now I think Toronto and Winnipeg are good when it's all said and done. They're probably gonna be close. Winnipeg looks really good, and I really like Dubois. Them adding Dubois, and now I'm definitely gonna say I was gonna say possibly Price or Hellebuck best goalie. Oh, it's easily Hellebuck now.
Hmm.
Like in that division,
Yeah, I mean, Toronto is just kind of running away with the division. Um, they're 9 points up on Winnipeg right now, who is in
they've got a
second.
very yeah
What's
they got
that?
a very comfortable lead right now. That's why I
Yeah,
was almost surprised that they that Anderson and Matthews came back because I was like, you've already created this buffer. Is it worth it? But obviously, it wasn't an injury where they were worried about them worsening it, right? Because
no.
you got such a lead, you don't need to force guys back. And I think that's a good thing. You can get your guys healthy for when it's important.
Yeah, I agree with you that Winnipeg is really good now, especially now that they have Dubois. That top six is kind of killer. I think their defense still has question marks. Their goalie is obviously incredible. Um, I think wherever Montreal finishes, if it's in the playoffs, if it's not, I mean, they're only 3 points ahead of Calgary. Calgary's playing terrible too. Like, so I
Yeah, it's
mean,
almost this is well, here's another thing. We'll go back to this is what really it kind of ticked me off too. So like I'm not gonna try to trash the Leafs Twitter or the Leafs fans, but some Leafs fans were like, "Oh, look at that! We just swept the second place team in our division." I was like, "Yeah, but Edmonton 2 weeks ago, we were all making fun of Edmonton because of how bad defensively they are and how bad the goaltending was. And that bottom, those two, three teams that are hovering in that bottom, until Winnipeg got hot, it was literally one good week and you were in second. One bad week, look at Montreal, you're back to fourth, right? Edmonton's not a good hockey team.
No,
They have two good players, and look, Toronto held them off the score sheet and they looked terrible. That's the kind of hockey team they are. They don't
but
have good
I
defense, they don't have good goaltending. They have two superstars.
I will stick up for Leafs Twitter because for 3 games in a row, essentially, I mean, Drysdale had an assist in the last game. For 3 games in a row, you shut down the two leading scorers in the league.
Yeah, no, I
And it
wasn't like
wasn't even close. Like it wasn't like they had chances. They didn't even have chances. So
yeah,
that's all I'll say.
I wasn't trying to like go at
Oh
that
yeah,
narrative, I guess, but like
right.
I feel like it's kind of the lazy narrative. Well, look, they're second in the
Mm,
standings. Like that's okay. There's more to that story. Look at the
yeah,
rest of how like you said, Calgary's not playing good. Montreal was second, then a bad week, and now they're fourth. The only team who's been consistent is Toronto.
yeah. But we'll get into more of that next week. We
Yeah.
got a little NHL midseason show coming up. Um, so we'll talk a lot of hockey next week. Um, Another dumpster fire going on in the league right now. What the fuck is going on in Buffalo?
I find this one interests me just because they're now in our division all of a sudden this year, right? With these
Right?
changes. I before the year, I said, wow, this is gonna be, you know what, having to play Jack Eichel and Taylor Hall 8 times a year or 7 times a year won't exactly that's not gonna be so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know what? It actually is really fun playing that team because they're
Yeah.
not good. They are not good.
No, I mean they're not. I mean they got so many problems on that team. Like it's almost not even funny. I actually like feel bad for Buffalo fans at this.
Would you
Fuck it. No, I don't.
would
No,
you
I don't.
look
They stomped on us. They stomped
would you
on
look
us
at that?
for 15 years. Now we get to stomp on you.
Yeah, I don't know. Buffalo kind of I kind of like Buffalo. I have nothing against Buffalo.
Well, whatever.
Maybe it's just because I enjoy I go there for a lot of hockey games when you can go for hockey games.
Oh,
It's close
yeah.
by. It's cheap for games. I like to go see the Caps when they're in Buffalo. It's I don't know. They treat me well.
I went there. I've gone there a few times. The first time I went, they were playing Detroit when they still had Datsuk and Zetterberg and Lidstrom. Christ, I couldn't believe how well Detroit threw the puck around that game. That was the only thing I remember from the game.
Well,
But
I'm glad you did. I'm glad
yeah,
you didn't go to a recent Buffalo Detroit game. That would have been a
that would have been a
you. I
snoozer.
probably would have. I might have
Barn burner.
refunded you. Yeah, I might have sent you your just
Yeah,
your ticket price back. So I would have felt bad for you.
yeah, it would have been 1-0, 12-11 shots. Um, yeah, I mean Jeff Skinner, he's been healthy scratched a few times right now. Um, I mean, this guy's getting paid $9 million a year.
That's the worst contract in the NHL.
Yeah, I mean, he's getting paid $9 million a year, and he's being healthy scratched. I don't even know how you try to get rid of the contract.
Yeah, you don't get rid of that contract. Um, you basically buy it out and take the bullet.
Yeah, I was doing the math, and basically, what is left on the contract, like if you were to buy him out after this year, I think it's something like they have to pay $3 million a year for the next 12 years to buy him out.
Yeah, I think you do that because you're not
He's
paying him
so bad.
$9 million to play for you. That's for sure.
He's so bad. Like the Leafs traded Patrick Marlowe and a first round pick to get rid of the contract so Carolina would buy it out. Tampa traded JT Miller and a first round pick, I believe. Or what? No, it was the first round pick going the other way. Um, but like teams are now in a point where they don't want to buy players out because of the long term effect. So they're willing to attach draft picks. I would honestly need from Buffalo probably 2 first round picks.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah. Maybe a
Yeah, probably
prospect
like
too.
yeah. There's not a chance unless you're like trying to think. Just a team with a ton of cap space. The Ottawa Senators are just like,
Detroit Red Wings,
yeah,
something like that.
we'll take him. Just give us two more first round picks and a prospect. But
Yeah, I
definitely,
mean, some people believe that his drop off in performance has been coaching from a coaching standpoint, that they're telling him to do different things and that maybe he's confused about what he needs to do. I mean, the guy's a veteran. The guy knows what he's there for. The
how
guy
does that
is a 40 goal scorer. He knows what he's there for.
and how does that translate to two assists in
Yeah.
15 games or whatever it is? Like no goals. And what? How many do you have last year? Less than 10 or something?
Yeah, not very many.
Or like it's I don't know how that much of a drop off occurs. He's not
But
that old either.
could you not see, like, did you not feel as soon as he signed that contract that you were like, this is a bad contract?
Oh,
This
I
is
knew
way
right
too much
away.
to pay him.
I thought
That's
you're
how
gonna
I
like
thought.
I thought you were gonna like he'd just be an overpaid 30,
Yeah.
35 goal scorer though. I didn't think overpaid zero goal scorer.
Yeah, I didn't realize it would be this bad. Um, I, I was thinking about it the other night and I was like, where do they even go? Because they've said they want 26 and under to fit their core. Well, basically all that they have to trade that's worth anything is players 26 and under. Like they don't have an abundance of veteran players that you can ship out. All the players that teams will want, they're the players that you want, like that Buffalo wants. So I don't even know how you
Yeah.
make a deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
They're in a really tough spot.
yeah, because I mean, you have Taylor Hall, who's on a 1 year deal. You're gonna have to trade him.
Apparently he's
Uh,
shown interest in re-signing, which I could not believe.
I can't believe that. I think if you're Buffalo, you're
Why
better off
why?
trading him. Um, you got to figure out what to do with Jeff Skinner. Ristolainen has always been in trade rumors. So there's three pretty big parts of your team. There's guys like Kyle Okposo who's on a bad contract. If you're trying to if you're trying to turn this thing around quick, I mean, you have to try to get rid of that contract too. But the big fish that has almost made it perfectly clear that wants out, Jack Eichel. It's a pretty
That's
uh,
but at this point, if you were trying to salvage this and you just not this what you figured this wasn't gonna work, you could get a really good return for him though.
Mhm.
That's the one way that you restart this thing and try and I think if that happens though, you get rid of your management, you get rid of your coach, you'd start
Yeah.
fresh.
The problem is, didn't they do that last offseason? Didn't
Yeah, I
they
think they
clean
tried
house
to.
last offseason? Like that's so crazy. Like you almost got to restart. Um, so Jack Eichel missed, I think, maybe last Thursday's game. I could be wrong. Um, he didn't play last Thursday's game. The coach came out and said um, that he was hurt. And then they asked Jack Eichel if he was hurt, and he was like, I wasn't hurt. So now you
That's
have contradictions coming from your coach and your captain on whether the player was ready to go or not. That's not a good sign.
no, that is a tough look.
Um, yeah, I think that though, like at $10 million, it's a very tradable contract. It's not. It's especially of a player of that caliber. You're gonna have teams lining up for him.
Oh yeah. I think every team excluding about maybe 7 to 10 based on who their first line centers in their cap room, but should probably be interested in that or should look into that.
I'm gonna throw out um, a trade that I was thinking of. Okay, these are
All
the
right, let's hear
these
it.
these are this is the base of the trade. There could be throw-ins, there could be picks. I don't know. Jack Eichel to Arizona for Clayton Keller and Jacob Chikrin.
That's an interesting one because I like both those players a lot. And I guess if you're Arizona, you're looking they're a pretty good team. They got some other solid forwards. You got
Mm-hmm.
Kessel, Garland, Dvorak.
I'm
That's
thinking
interesting.
from a money standpoint, it basically it almost matches dollar for dollar. I don't know what Chikrin makes a year. But they're younger.
He's still on his rookie deal, I think though.
Okay, so in that case, Buffalo would about 2 million would come off the cap, free and clear. Um, I don't know. I mean, it is an interesting deal because they're both younger than Eichel. Um, and so it fits into what Buffalo wants, and then Arizona obviously gets a star, which they haven't had in forever.
I guess if you classify Shane Doan as that, but even
Yeah,
he was probably
he's a Phoenix legend for sure. But and he was known obviously around the league. Everyone knew who Shane Doan was, but
trying to think
Jack
who else
Eichel is a
was
different
there.
breed.
Yeah.
Jeremy Roenick used to play for them.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Paul Bissonnette, of course. Biz Nasty. Yeah, I mean they've had players, come and go that were pretty decent, but basically Doan and Roenick, I would say they've
Don't
been their biggest.
Doan's like the only one they can say like is truly their star.
Yeah,
Roenick was just so he was a bunch of other places.
did he play? Was his other team? His other team was Chicago,
Philadelphia.
Philadelphia. That might be it, or maybe bounced. He might have bounced around a little bit. Yeah. So that was just an idea of a trade that I had. I mean, wherever you trade him, you're going to get a lot. You're going to get 4 first-round picks, or you're going to get, and people might be like, oh, 4 first-round picks. Well, if you signed a guy in free agency that was an RFA for $10 million, you'd have to pay 4 first-round picks, and then this guy's Jack Eichel, so it's a no-brainer to me. So we'll move on. I absolutely love talking about just shitting all over those two teams. I mean, I just love it. We were going to do a little list, a little game. We have now seen all of the retro jerseys in the NHL. I believe they've all been used. So we put together our own list of the top 10 reverse retro jerseys. So, Kurt, let's hear yours.
All right, I'll lead this off. At number, I'm gonna go from my least. I guess I shouldn't say least favorite because it's a top 10, but from 10th
Worst
to
to best.
first. Yeah, we're gonna go worst to best. So we're gonna start off with at number 10, Boston. I don't know if it was because just the Lake Tahoe and I'm for sure they wore them on there, those yellow ones, but they just looked so sharp. Just some classic Bruins colors. Was a big fan. Number 9, Florida. Best logo in team history. We need to see more of that.
Okay.
At 8, Carolina. Can't go wrong with the Whalers jerseys. Can't go wrong with the Whalers jerseys. 7, the New Jersey Devils. Very sharp. The green with the red and white, very sharp.
Can I tell you something? The first 3 you just named, from 8 to 10, none of those were in my top 10.
Really? That's good though.
That's good.
I like to hear that. Yeah.
It's changing it up.
Keeps things fresh, interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
Number 6, we got Calgary, the Blasty, the black and red.
Love that jersey. One
that I didn't see till about the other night, maybe it was last weekend, when it was when Patrick Kane scored his 400th goal. But Chicago's, they are sharp, very sharp. Number 4, I gotta go with my guys in Washington. Fans in Washington were, I was gonna say screaming to bring this logo back, but no pun intended. The Screaming Eagle brought it back.
Do you like that jersey? Do you like it over the regular one?
Oh yeah, I have one. I have one already.
Of course you do. Of course you own their jersey already.
Oh yeah, I had to. Right when it came out, I picked one of those up. But they are Very sharp. Number three, Minnesota Wild, bringing
Okay.
back the North Stars colors. I love it. Love it.
Yep.
Number
Love it.
two, one of my favorite colorways and jerseys ever, LA. The purple and the yellow.
Yeah.
I love that. And at
Some
number
Luke
one,
Robitaille days.
yes, at number one, you can't go any other way. Colorado. The
Okay.
Nordiques jerseys are those are incredible. Love those.
So I like your list. I like your list. Like I said, I think the first three that you said were not in my top 10. So we'll have a little bit of a difference. Number 10, I have New Jersey. I love the green look.
They're nice,
When
eh?
they did it with their away jerseys, maybe last year or the year before, where they just
Oh, the
it was the
white.
white jersey and they swapped it with the black
Yeah.
for the green. I love it. I actually at 9 I have Philadelphia. I
You know what?
love the
Yeah,
Eric
I didn't mind
Lindros
those.
look. I
Yep.
love that look. Um, I think their regular jerseys are actually kind of ugly.
Really? They're
Like
like
I
a
think,
almost like a highlighter orange, kind of.
yeah, like it's like I don't like. I mean, I don't like that the nameplate is just black
Yeah.
for no
Well,
reason.
actually, you know what? Speaking of that, one of the issues I had with I think it was the Rangers was the dark numbers on the dark jerseys. I think Toronto did that too.
Hmm.
And I don't
Oh
like when the
yeah,
teams do that. Like just go with the white or go
yeah.
with the gray or just go with the off color, right? Anyways, that's keep going with your
Um,
list here.
yeah. I mean, you could definitely tell where the Philadelphia colors came from, where they were getting the jerseys ready, and then somebody accidentally put a black nameplate on a white jersey, and some guy was like, "Well, fuck it, just keep it that way," and they've just done
Yeah.
it that way forever. So yeah, I like the Philadelphia ones. At 8, I have Washington. I do like their
Okay.
look. I do like
Yeah.
their look. At 7, I have Pittsburgh. I
Interesting.
love the old Mario Lemieux look with
So
the. Go ahead.
so I'm getting the sense you're a big fan of kind of the I guess it is retro reverse, but you
Yeah,
like the ones similar to that you've seen before, like
yeah.
the classic, the really classic look that they've worn before.
Mhm.
Okay.
When Pittsburgh went back to like their early 90s look of like not that like beige yellow type thing, it was like actually yellow they put back into the jerseys. I was like,
Yeah,
that's a sharp look. I do
it
like
is.
when they go retro. I mean, it is cool look because I think a lot of the teams should go back to being retro. I
You
think
know
some
what's
of
a
their jerseys are ugly now.
you're talking about the classic Pittsburgh. I really like the baby blue. I think it's a similar style. It's like it
Hmm.
has the Pittsburgh like cross
Yeah,
across the chest like they do now on those retro reverse, but it's
right.
baby blue and they looked incredible.
I the baby blue ones are really nice. That was their original jerseys. Um, at 6, I have St. Louis. I love like it's like the when Wayne Gretzky played there.
Yeah.
I think the colors are just flipped. Like it's a sharp looking jersey. I do like it.
Yeah.
At 5, a team that you didn't have in your top 10, I have Edmonton. I'll tell you why.
Huh.
Those orange pants are fucking sweet. Those are
I
so sweet. When I originally saw the jersey, I was like, it's nothing really special. And then you throw the pants in with it, and you're like, oh, that thing's cool. That's a cool look right there. Love it.
yeah, I'm not on the same page for that one, but I see where you're going. I see where you're going with it.
All right. At 4, I have Chicago. Like I don't know where do you have them?
I
6
had
or something?
five. I had five,
5.
so close.
At 3, I have Colorado with their Nordiques jerseys.
Okay.
Um, I mean they're cool. They're cool. I mean, I'm not a real Quebec fan of basically just the whole province. I don't really like it. So, uh, you know, fuck the Nordiques too. At 2, I have Calgary. I love the burning horse or whatever you want to call it.
His name, I
It's a
think he goes by Blasty.
Blasty
That's
the
what
horse.
I don't know.
Cool.
That's what I guess they call him out there. I don't know.
This sweet nickname.
That's cool, guys. Really good.
It is a sweet jersey. At number 1, I have the Minnesota Wild. I do love the
Nice.
North Stars look.
Yeah, I like
Have
that.
Did you ever see? I forget where I saw it. Maybe I was watching radio or something one day. Um, the Mike Modano getting elbowed by Mark Messier. Did you ever see that?
I don't know if I have actually.
So Mike Modano, obviously North Stars and then Dallas Stars legend. They were playing in the Garden one night, and Mark Messier with his patent flying elbow, which you can go look it up on YouTube. It's one of the best. He'll jump from 4 feet away and just slam your head right into the glass with his elbow. It's a great play. Real effective. Gets the player out of the game really quick.
I could see that.
So Mark Messier just nails Mike Modano. And then he leaves. He leaves on a stretcher. They're wheeling him out to the ambulance. If you don't know what happens next, go watch it. But they are loading him up and they do a picture in picture with uh, Mike Modano getting loaded in while the game is going on. They try to pick him up and they subsequently dump Mike Modano, who is strapped into the stretcher, onto the ground. He has a
You know,
neck brace on, and they just completely whoops and just dump him on his side.
I have seen that. I totally forgot about that until you just said that.
It was literally like when you watch Semi Pro with Will Ferrell and he like knocks himself out and they go to pick him up and carry him off the court. And the announcer guy is just like, they are doing a just horrendous job of stabilizing his spine right now. Uh, it's it's a fantastic video if you've never seen it of just dumping their best player just on the hard concrete outside of MSG. Absolutely fantastic.
That's
It's the
funny.
best. It's the best. Um, where should we go next? Where should we go next? Let's talk a little spring training.
All right, let's do it.
All right, a little spring training action. Um, so spring training started last week. Um, you know, same old, same old. Obviously, some places have fans, some places don't. Um,
Actually, I got a
I,
question for you.
yeah, go ahead.
Just so you get to spring training, you get to preseason. When do you start for baseball really digging in and paying attention? Right from spring training? Are you an opening day spring training guy? You just go hard right from the start, or do
Well,
you kind of wait closer to
I,
April?
I pay attention to what happens in spring training. If somebody's having a good spring training, if somebody's struggling, how the team's performing. Although it doesn't really matter because the starters, if they play at all, only play about 2-3 innings. They don't start stretching them out till later. But I pay attention to what's happening. I mean, it's tough because not all the games are televised.
Yeah.
And so if they were, you would be more into it. But I get really into baseball fever normally when the Blue Jays go to Montreal. That's when I really
Oh
start.
yeah. It's like
But
a weekend before the season starts, right?
yeah, and they're not going to be doing that obviously this year. They'll be playing in Dunedin, for at least the first month or so. Have you seen the video on the new Dunedin facility?
It's incredible.
State of the art, new, renovated gyms and training facilities, new fields, indoor fields, outdoor fields. It's incredible. Um, yeah, so I'm excited for spring training. When do you start kind of paying attention to it?
I'd like to say I'm into it now. Like I'm every day I'm watching who's playing and what's going on. I wouldn't say like I watch every spring training game or try and listen to it on the radio, but I follow on Twitter. I'm following what's going on, who's playing well. But I look for, I'm not really like, I don't care much for hitters, average or on base during spring training. I'm more looking for like pitcher's velocity, right? Who
Mm-hmm.
shows up and is improved, who's dropped velocity, because those are big things for pitchers, right? Spin rates and that kind of stuff. So if a guy shows up and they used to throw 95, they're only 91, that's a concern. So,
Right.
and there's always those, especially this year with the Blue Jays, there's a big starting rotation. There's a lot of battles going on for those spots. So, I'm really like right now I'm into it and I'm just looking how those starters are doing, who's pitching well.
Do you think the Blue Jays rotation is good enough to
Uh,
to
it
be to get them either into the playoffs, or if they, I think they will get into the playoffs. We discussed that last week.
yeah.
But do you think once they get into the playoffs, do you think they're good enough?
Okay, because I was gonna ask good enough for what, but I'm glad you
Hmm.
clarified that because
Yeah.
I'm not convinced that rotation is good enough to win a series. I mean, it obviously depends who you draw in the first round and
Hmm.
where you finish, but you got to think they're gonna be a wild card team, right? The Yankees are they're just too good of a team right now.
Right.
You look at their lineup is just as good as the Jays, and their pitching rotation's better.
Right.
So as a wild card, you're stuck playing a division winner. I don't know. Like I feel like that's going to be tough for them to do. But also, if you what's the first round you have to win? Trying
You
to
have to
think
win
here.
three.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think. So how would that end up? You'd have Ryu for one game. Pearson has a groin strain now too, which is injuries for him are starting to add up early in his career.
Hmm.
Hopefully, this is just a minor setback and he can get back on the mound quick because we need him.
Yeah.
He's the number one pitching prospect in baseball, right? And I think
Hmm.
they were counting on him to be a big piece. I don't rule out them adding someone else either, but just in a 5 game series, I'm not convinced that outside of Ryu, you're relying on a guy who's hasn't pitched a lot, 18 total innings in the majors, if I'm not mistaken, and then Steven Matz, Tanner Rourke, Ross Stripling,
Hmm.
Rob Ray, maybe Trent Thorne. I'm not convinced those guys are winning you playoff games.
No, I think I'm with you with they are the wild card of the team, really, is the starting rotation. I don't think they're good enough. Outside of Ryu, and we saw what the Rays did to Ryu in the playoffs last year. I mean, they crushed him out of the ballpark.
That's a good point.
Um, so outside of him, I mean, you have you have Ray, you have Robbie Ray, and um, if Nate Pearson can find that consistency and they can stretch him out a little bit, then that's an added bonus. I don't think they're good enough. I think that Robbie Ray on a good team is probably your fourth starter. Um, and so you have two slots that you have if you really want to compete and you want to compete this year, which I don't think the Jays expect to. I think they expect them, sorry, they expect them to compete, but I don't think they expect them to compete for a World Series. And I don't think anybody does, quite frankly. Um, but this, we're just getting into the season, but at the end of the season, there is a very good free agency pool of starting pitchers. The Jays have made it known that they are willing to spend money now. They feel they're in a position where it is financially feasible for them to spend money on a good team. And so if you can fill those two slots, or at least one of those slots in your rotation, then of course now you can be in the conversation for a World Series. But as of right now, no, I don't think their rotation's good enough. I don't think their bullpen is good enough. I
I,
think if this team does anything, it's on the backs of their bats.
yeah, I pretty much agree with you. Except maybe the bullpen, I think it's a little better than you give them credit for. I think Kirby Yates was one of the best closers in baseball before
Mhm.
last year. I think Jordan Romano was great, and they have so many other options now. You got Baraki there, like Chatwood,
Yeah.
Rafael Delis. Anyways, there's countless options. They're a lot better than they have been in the past few years for sure.
Oh,
And I
for
think
sure. Yeah. Yeah.
last year they really impressed, and they weren't that healthy last year. But yeah, no, their starting rotation is clearly need either you add someone, maybe they're still looking to add in through trades. There, I think is Odorizzi. He's still available, right? Maybe that's an
I
option.
believe so.
I don't know. Maybe they're just waiting through spring training to see how some of these young guys pan out. A
Mhm.
guy like Anthony Kay, who pitched
Right.
really well in his first
Yeah.
outing in spring training, does he all of a sudden jump up the depth chart? I don't know. So I'm not sure exactly. Maybe you're right. Maybe they are waiting, but I feel like when you sign a guy like George Springer, you're telling people you're ready
Hmm.
to contend.
Yeah.
It's like when the Leafs signed Tavares, right?
Hmm.
You rebuild, but once you spend that kind of money on a quality player like that,
Hmm.
you can't. You're telling your fan base, all right, now we are ready. And they did it 2 off seasons in a row,
Yep.
right? Ryu then Springer. So I don't know. I think they'll be in the playoffs, but I'm not convinced with that rotation they'll go any further than the first round.
And in baseball, it seems like almost on every team, and it's usually a pitcher that kind of comes out of nowhere. You might bring him up from double A ball or triple A ball, and he gets hot at the right time. He's pitching well or whatever. He's in the zone, and you can get a lot of innings out of him, and he's very effective. So I mean, I expect that to happen this year. There's going to be a guy that comes out of nowhere that nobody really expect, and he's going to overperform. Um, the most recent probably on the Jays was Biagini, maybe Rule 5 pickup, and then he before you knew it, he was your eighth inning man. So
I
there's always guys like that.
Yeah, I'd be looking for a guy, especially a guy like Anthony K, to possibly take that step, especially if injuries. I mean, injuries will occur. I was going to say if they occur, but they will, especially when
Mhm.
it comes to starting pitching. The Jays are lucky, I guess. Not lucky, but they have a lot of options, not quality options, but they do have a lot of arms and a lot of young arms that will be
Mm.
in Double A and Triple A that probably could push for some major league time if or when those injuries occur.
Right.
So I'd be interested to see when those guys get a chance, what they do to make the most of those opportunities. Some of their those early picks in the last couple of years. One of them is Alex Manoah. I think it was 2018 draft. He was their first round pick.
Hmm.
He looked really good yesterday.
Hmm.
Simeon Woods Richardson, they traded for him in the
Very good.
Marcus Stroman
Yep.
trade.
Hmm.
He's just turned 20, I think. Looked really good. So they might be a year or two away, but there are options that are coming up. Another thing, too, you got to remember this is one of the best prospect pools in baseball. And baseball, if you their core of young players, position players that are currently there are still young. There's not enough positions for everyone. People are going to be traded. Is that an option? You move a couple. You don't have to part ways with Austin Martin or Groshans or those top guys. If you want a number three starter, you can dig deep into that prospect pool and package a few guys and possibly get a three starter, you know, or a four
Yeah,
starter. It
I
you
agree with
really,
you.
I think they're going to be patient, and I think because like you said, like we both agree they're going to be in the playoffs. You have the majority of this season to see what becomes available and just talk to teams and see what's out there. So I don't know if they're exactly in a rush to make that move.
Yeah, they may they may see it as an opportunity to cash in some of those top prospects and or they wait to see what they have, in a lot of these guys. But throughout a MLB season, you need what would you say? You probably need 8 to 10 starters. You're probably going to
Yeah,
use 8 to 10 starters in a season.
yeah,
And
about that.
so that's the old thing about the Yankees is everyone looks at them and they go, well, the Yankees have, they have 12 starting pitchers. And you're like, yeah, but at least 5 of them get hurt. So like it seems like their starting rotation is always hurt. So you need those extra guys in order to keep you going through those injuries.
Yeah,
Um,
in such a long season where you play as I guess as close together as consecutively as you do in baseball,
mm.
it's a grind, and injuries are inevitable, right? It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So
Well, we've seen that in hockey this year where a player gets hurt, he's out 3 weeks, he's missed 9 games.
yeah, and COVID too. Guys you missed 2 weeks, you've already missed 5 or 6 games. You get put on
Yeah.
that COVID list. So yep,
So
that's a good example.
and in baseball it's like that every year. Um, yeah, so I mean we'll see where the Blue Jays go. I think again they'll be in the playoffs. I think it'll be because of their bats. I would like to see what they do with their rotation, what they do with their young players. It will be interesting. Um, we'll shift gears here a little bit. Just a little thing that happened this week in sports. Buddy Hield became the fastest player in NBA history to reach 1,000 threes, 3-pointers. He beat out Steph Curry. I do not think Buddy Hield is going to be the all-time 3-point leader in his career. I can tell you that right now. I think that's just a representation of the game. But yeah, that's just a little thing. I wanted to tell the audience, tell everybody who's listening about one of the funniest stories I've heard of this week. Um, so this is a high school basketball coach that got suspended. You want to know why he got suspended, Kurt?
I would love to know.
All right, so he coaches girls high school basketball. And he got suspended because his team beat another team 161-2.
161-2.
You heard that correct. Yes. That averages out to about 80 points, obviously, per half, 40 points a quarter, while the other team scored 2 points all game. They scored 2 free throws. That's how they scored.
That is absurd.
like dude, when you're up like 40-2, you could probably put the brakes on a little bit.
Well, wait, so you got to get into the suspension.
So he got suspended, I believe, 2 games, and it's basically for like unsportsmanlike conduct. He's been suspended before for doing stuff like this, but some of the quotes that came out of this article are just hilarious. Like he was quoted as being saying I didn't mean to run up the score. I didn't even play my starters in the second half. And then parents from the other team were like, "Bro, you were full court pressing when you were up 106-1."
Wait, how old are they?
I don't even like high school. I don't even know. Like, so probably 15, 16. Yeah,
That's
just I mean,
hilarious.
just dominating, like just embarrassing the other team. And then he's just like, I didn't mean to do it. I'm like, what are you talking about?
It's kind of a power move.
Like, yeah, when you were up by 30 in the first quarter, you probably could have been like, all right, bench spots 13 through 8. You're playing the rest of the game. Like, you didn't have to play anybody remotely good. But honestly, I was thinking, I was like, I don't even care. I don't care if it's NBA players. How do you only score 2 points?
Yeah, that's high
Like, you
school
would think
basketball
you would
too.
get
Yeah.
at least fouled. Like, obviously they shot free throws, so they were 2 for 4 at least on free throws.
This guy just coaches impeccable defense.
This guy is a maniac. Like, this guy is definitely the guy that's like, all right, you're up at 6, you're running 10 miles, and then you're coming here, you're hitting the weights, and then you're going to homeroom.
I would
And they're
love
like,
to see one of his practices.
and they're like, we're 14. He's like, I don't care. I coach champions. That's what I do. You're up at 2 a.m. and you're doing full workouts for the rest of your life. And they're like, oh, okay. And then this guy, like, oh God, it's an absolutely wild story. I love when I first read it, it was just absolutely hilarious. Oh, almost forgot. Oh my God. I told Kurt before the show I wanted to say this story that I heard, that I remembered this week. So we're going back to baseball. Okay. There is a Hall of Fame broadcaster, Martin Brennaman, or Marty Brennaman, as people call him, Marty. Marty is retired. He was the broadcaster for the Cincinnati Reds. And I think he is either back in the booth and he's doing like analysis now, like he's not doing play by play, or he just drops in like occasionally and they do these kind of like little spots. But I remember seeing this story, and then I forgot about it and I remembered it just the other day. I don't know why. But so they're doing a segment where people can tweet out their questions to Marty Brenneman, and they call this the spot Ask Marty, or Ask Marty time. And so, they're reading off these Twitter questions, and it goes as something a little like this. All right, we're bottom of the sixth, and it's time for Ask Marty time. This is where you can tweet out your questions, and Marty Brenneman will answer them. They could be about baseball or life, doesn't matter. Marty, we got our first question here from the Twitter handle LayJohnMan7. It says, "What is your biggest fear in life?" Marty's sitting there and he's thinking, he goes, "That's a great question. I've been thinking about this and it's a serious question. And, I gotta say, probably the thing I'm scared of the most is dying alone in a hotel room." Who says that? That's your number one fear, is dying alone in a hotel room. I laughed so hard when I thought about it because I was like, that is so insane just to be like, national television. I'm scared of dying alone.
That's hilarious.
That's so depressing, but it's so funny. Thanks, Marty. Oh my God, Marty. There's so many stories about great, like, especially baseball announcers, because they have to fill. I feel like baseball might be the hardest sport to announce because there's not a lot
Yeah,
happening
there's
all at
so
once.
much time to fill.
Yeah, like
Actually, I got one more thing to ask you.
yeah.
I don't know why I was thinking about this yesterday. Do you remember the Victor Hedman and Riley Nash situation in the playoffs?
No, tell me.
All right. So the prior year, Columbus was up 2-0 on Washington, right? Uh, so this is 2018. Washington came back, won four straight. Anyways, Columbus was eliminated, right? So
Yeah.
the next year, Columbus is playing Tampa. They're up 2-0. Victor Hedman goes over to the Columbus bench. He's chirping. He says to Riley Nash, "Hey, last time you guys were up 2-0, didn't go so well. Don't get ahead of yourselves."
Mm-hmm.
Riley Nash goes, "Man, I wasn't even on this team last year. I was on Boston, the team that beat you."
What a great line. What a fucking great line.
Victor Hedman just didn't remember that Riley Nash wasn't even on that team, like Columbus the year before.
I mean, it's either a power move by Victor Hedman, basically being like, I don't give a shit who you played for. Right now you're on the Columbus Blue Jackets. You could think of it that way, or you could just be like, bro, learn my name. I wasn't even on this team. Like,
Yeah.
fucking read a stat sheet once in a while.
I
There was
don't
a
even know
great
what.
there was a chirp that did you watch the Michael Jordan doc?
Yeah, I did.
So do you remember the Scottie Pippen chirp to Karl Malone, and I think in the 97 finals, maybe 98
Ah,
finals?
I'm trying to think. I'll probably remember it
So
when you say.
for those of you that don't know, the game was on a Sunday. Okay. I think it was game 6, maybe it was game 5, and it was on a Sunday. No, I think it was game 6. I think it might have been in Utah. Um so Karl Malone gets fired, or not fired, fouled. He is the star. He got fired.
He got fired.
Star power forward for the team got fired. So he is like, I think he won MVP maybe that year or maybe the year previous. And so he is at the free throw line. And if you don't know, Karl Malone's nickname was the mailman because he supposedly always delivered. That was his nickname. He was always on his game. And like, the fucking US Postal Service has this dumb line about delivering all the time. Whatever, doesn't matter. So he's at the free throw line. It's on a Sunday. Scottie Pippen is standing beside him, and he goes to Karl Malone. He goes, "The mailman doesn't deliver on Sundays." And then Karl Malone proceeds to brick 2 free throws, and then they lose the game, lose the series. Like
that's legendary.
calm,
That's awesome.
cool, collected. Just mailman doesn't deliver on Sundays, bud. And then he's like, "Oh fuck, he's right. The mailman doesn't deliver on Sundays. I haven't played on a Sunday in 15 years. It's
Rent
crazy."
free.
Oh my god, like yeah, he's in his kitchen. He's cooking
Yeah.
ribs. He's cooking steaks. He's grilling in there. But what I was gonna say was baseball is such a hard sport to broadcast for. Bob Euchre has some great stories about Artie Lang again, who we've talked about on the show. He has a great story, or maybe it was Norm Macdonald, but they were both in the booth one time with Bob Euchre. Bob Euchre was the guy. He's a famous broadcaster for the Milwaukee Buck or the Milwaukee Brewers. Um, he was in Major League. He was the announcer for the team in the movie. So he used to do this thing where he had great control over the cough button. And so what he would do is if people came into the booth with him, he would try to entertain them. And so he would call the game, but then also make fun of players and make fun of the crowd. So he would say the play, hit the button, cough button, so the mic wasn't on, say whatever he was going to say, and then finish the play. So he would do something like he would go, and there's the pitch. It's a ground ball over to third. Look at the tits on the girl at third, and then it's over to first, 2 down. Like that is how he would do it. Perfect. Just like boom, let it go, done. Like it's so great. He used to do it against like players too. Like he'd be like, coming to the home plate there for his at bat, former MVP, fat no good piece of shit. It's Cecil Fielder. That's how he would do it. Like just a maniac, just an absolute maniac. But whatever. I love good announcer stories. They always got good ones. Um, so we should wrap it up. Let's get into some picks for the weekend. What do you got,
Yep.
Kurt?
All right. We'll start off with Saturday here. We'll start on the ice. I got the Coyotes over the Wild. And then also on Saturday, believe Saturday afternoon at 1, if I'm not mistaken. I got the Flyers over the Penguins. And we'll finish up in the NBA. I have the Grizzlies over the Thunder on Sunday.
I like those picks. I like the Flyers. They're playing well. Um, especially with Crosby now on the COVID list. Who knows when he
Yep.
gets back? Um, I am breaking my rule this weekend, and I don't care if you like it or not. I'm taking the Maple Leafs over the Canucks.
We talked about this, but all
I
right.
know, but you know
They're
what?
playing good right now. They're playing good. Yeah, it's
They're
hard to
my
beat.
rules. They're my rules. I can break them whenever I want. That's how I think of it. Rules are meant to be broken. Remember that. I am also taking the Islanders over the Sabres. Islanders are on fire right now. Sabres, their dumpster is on fire. I am also going to take. I'm actually going to take the Kings over the Blues.
They're playing good right
Um,
now. Actually, they're playing good hockey.
I actually saw somebody who had Kopitar as a Hart Trophy winner.
Wow.
So they're
I don't
playing
know.
really well.
Yeah.
And the Blues, whatever. I mean, but so I'm going to take the Kings there. We want to thank everybody for listening to Taking All Bets again. Next week we are doing a big um, NHL midseason show, so we'll have a lot of hockey to talk about, a lot of debates, a lot of we'll get into the Canadian division, whether it's as bad as people are saying or as good as some people are saying. So we'll get
Can't
into
wait.
that. Yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be fun, man.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So thanks again, everybody. We'll see you all next week.